Alrighty. How you doing, my man? You doing good?
I'm doing well, yeah. Enjoying this last week that I have before we really get into it. So finally, it's about time. Actually, today, rookies are reporting. So we don't have media coverage for that. We don't have media access. But then next week when veterans report, we have that, and then the first practice and so on. So maybe we get some social media from the Dolphins sent out on some of these rookies, and we go off of that. But
When's the first practice? When's the first media session for us? When do we start?
We should get something the report day next Tuesday, the 23rd, the veteran report day, and then obviously there would be a practice right after that, and then going into that first weekend is the Sunday, the first weekend that there's the one open to fans. So so then they get right into it after that.
I think there's a first couple. I don't know if I'll go to the first day or two because they have put on no pads.
Right. Who's that? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll go the first day or two because they'll have no pads. I don't know yet.
Well, I'm gonna miss it.
I'll see. I mean, I just, if there's not going to be any hitting or anything, it's just hard to get a feel for things, bro. It just, man, they just do so much less hitting nowadays than they used to. It's really you used to get a much better feel for teams in training camp in the preseason because they used to hit a lot. When we had two-a-days and in the Jimmy days and the early Wanstead days, it was two-a-days, inside drills. You really got a good feel for a football team if they could run the ball, if they could stop the ball, if they were a good tackling team, all that kind of stuff. Now it's almost like conditioning, and then even the tackling, it doesn't really get sharp till like a month into the season. Actually, it doesn't really get sharp, and so it's because there's less hitting. And it's not their fault. It's just not their fault. It's just you don't have two-a-days anymore. You don't hit a lot anymore. You don't tackle a lot. I mean, Jimmy Johnson would start off the morning with an inside drill. That's how they did their stretching, and they didn't do individuals. No. Inside drill, and then you went off to individuals. That's some shit. That's some. That's really how you like.
Yeah.
Okay, stretched out. All right, ready to go. Okay, inside drill. Let's go. And then you got the blood going, and then they went into individuals. Yeah. That's how they used to do it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That'll get the blood flowing. To start practice. So, okay, yeah. So that's before my time of covering. So that's good to hear. And I knew obviously it would be more physical when you go back some years.
How old are you?
I turned 34 next month.
Oh yeah, it's close. Yeah, you were like in the crib. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, all I know.
Jimmy was 96.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson's era, the late 90s, and I was a kid and getting into it and all that, and then once I really started having a lot of consciousness over what was going on,
Yeah, you were the Wani years by then.
Yeah, Wanstead years for sure. And also as a kid, I got into baseball and basketball first in like my single digit years, and then as I got older, then football was just easy to pick up because I already knew the other sports. So then
you're 34, you said, right?
Turning 34 next month. Not yet.
Yeah, and this is my 34th year doing this.
Okay. So yeah, we aligned there. Yeah.
91 was my first year in the business.
Okay, well, 90 I was born.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. We're aligned there. So you've been doing it. You can literally say you've been doing it as long as I've been alive.
Yes.
Yeah. And anytime we disagree, then you could just hit me with that and debate over.
No, but it was just, I remember one year we had Jamie Nails.
Oh yeah.
And that was the early Wani years, I want to say.
Yes. Yeah, I remember.
And and again, because they were hitting a lot, and the Dolphins weren't ever really a great running team. That was always a stigma with them forever, bro. Marino years, whatever. There were, Jimmy would run the ball, but it wasn't like an effective running game. It was just a serviceable running game. And then every once in a while, you'd get a Lamar and you get a Ricky or whatever. And that's what's happened. That you really haven't had up until Mike McDaniel. Really, you really haven't had an effective running game that you can count on. All we need now is for Mike to stay with it. But going back to my point. I remember one year, fans would ask me, "We're going to run the ball," and sure enough, I'm watching camp, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching Jamie Nails come out and pull, and because he came from Buffalo, lost a bunch of weight, got in better shape, the best shape he had ever been in, and he was able to move really well. And all of a sudden, I start looking at that line, and I start telling fans, "This is the year they got a running game." And sure enough, they ended up having a running game. Why? Because in camp, I could see them hit every day and inside drill and run and all that. And that's my problem at nowadays. It's hard for you and all the other ladies and gentlemen that are in the business to really get a good gauge on a team now in the preseason and in training camp because you really don't see enough anymore. And it's not your fault. It's just look, talk to scouts. Scouts will tell you nowadays in the NFL, it's harder for them to grade offensive linemen because of the way college football is being played.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a passing game, you don't really know what a road grader looks like because there are some guys that play their entire careers and they're not really putting their hands on the dirt. They're not really, having to really plow people over and stuff like that because they're playing in zones and they're playing in passing schemes and all that kind of stuff. And you don't get a good feel for a guy if he can really, put his hand in the dirt and put somebody on their ass. You know what I mean? So scouts will tell you we can figure out pass protectors, but run blockers, it becomes a little harder nowadays because of the way the game is played. And for you, I think it becomes harder to determine what kind of a team you have nowadays because you don't hit enough anymore in training camp in the preseason.
Yeah, and as far as my media time, then that's all I've known is just what we get to see because it's been pretty consistent since I've covered the team full time, and then sometimes I would fill in years prior on some random training camp days. I remember doing that, but it was kind of similar in what you would see. So yeah, it's definitely from a previous era where you really got to see the physicality in training camp, and definitely the first several practices. Then that's sort of that acclimation period. So it's going to look a lot like OTAs and mini camp to start off because the guys got to get back acclimated, like the word says. So, yeah, there's a lot of that. And good point you're making on being able to assess linemen because, yeah, for a lot of years there was some disconnect in a lot of the schemes being run in college systems while it was still sort of that pro style offense. There's a lot fewer teams in college running pro style offense. And I know that was actually a thing that helped the Miami Hurricanes when they were producing a lot of NFL talent was, yeah, they ran the pro style. So It translated over very easily. Then a lot of other college teams were able to be more effective with the different spread type offenses and all the fast paced no huddle attacks that then sort of phased out what the Canes were able to do as well. But then the Canes were also producing less pro talent because then you kind of just had to find the guys who were productive as well in college. And so it created a big circle of all of that. Eventually, had to catch up with different when they had Rhett Lashley and whatnot as offensive coordinator. But and I covered those years. But
now the NFL is adjusting to college when it comes to linemen.
Then there'll be a lot of years with that. Yeah.
Right, because now they know that what they're getting, and so now they're kind of running, and that's what we do here. That's what the Dolphins have. They kind of have more of a college-like system in a way for their linemen, and so that's why it might be easier to kind of figure out what lineman you need. But if you want to go a little bit more classic, and you want to be the Ravens, and you want to run, brother, you better make sure you assess the lineman the right way, because if he's not a road grader, you're screwed.
Yeah. I feel like that started maybe like a decade ago when you had, and a little bit more than that, when you had Cam Newton come out and Robert Griffin III, and then Colin Kaepernick. So you had a lot of guys that were running that read option. So then that's sort of like a college thing that it was away from the pros, away from the pro game, and then sort of it started getting incorporated into it, and more teams started building that into their schemes. Whereas a couple years before that, like Tim Tebow was not thought of as a pro prospect, but the Broncos still took a chance on him first round before moving on quickly once they were able to get Peyton Manning. But then shortly after that, you started just incorporating it into it. Like, okay, what are they running in college? They're very effective at that. Let's try to get that into the NFL game. And now you see it with Lamar Jackson and such.
Yeah. So that's where it becomes a little harder to assess what's going on. All right, and you know what? I get this, by the way, because you told me, like, this is all I know, because since you've been covering, that's the kind of style of practices that there is. I get that in doing this nowadays, and I've been doing it for so damn long. I get it from college basketball fans at times, because I make fun of today's college basketball, because the last 15, 20 years, people that have been watching college basketball, they don't know any better. They don't know what it's like to have Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing and everybody else for 3 to 4 years in college. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of the same thing. It's like, yeah, dude, I don't see the same college basketball that I used to see. You know what I mean? It was a much higher level before. And it's because things are different nowadays. It's just a lot harder. You know what I'm saying? So we look at the contract situation. Does it look like it's going to end up rolling into the beginning of training camp like I thought?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think so. We're a week away, so unless we get some big leap into through these negotiations, get through all these hoops, and get it done within this week, then it's now at this point it is looking like, all right, it'll get to that report day. Maybe it's a headline going into that, and first time we talked to Tua early in training camp. If it's not done then we'll have a similar sort of conversation as to what we had during minicamp, where it was antsy then. I wonder what the feeling will be if training camp starts and the deal still isn't done. So, with that still up in the air, then it's looking more and more likely like Tua will at least go into his first or his fifth training camp still on that rookie deal without the long-term extension after so many of his other counterparts across the league have gotten their money either last offseason or now a couple this offseason before things get.
I want to give Dolphins out there that are a little worried about this a little, I'll give you a something bright to look at, a positive on all of this. I've had a wrong read on all of this from the get-go. I thought because they were adding all these players, okay, they got to be close on this, right? Because they got to know their number if they're adding all these players. Then all of a sudden, I think all these other contracts that came in, they probably wanted more money. They're like, no, dude, whatever. So now there's a difference. So now I think it's going to go into the beginning of training camp. So I'm probably going to be wrong about that too now. So I've been wrong about that from the get-go, and I'm going to probably be wrong about this, and they'll probably come to a deal tomorrow or in 3 days from now, and there you go. So, bright side, Dolphins, I haven't had a good feel for this contract situation.
So fade Big O at the sports book. Whatever Big O is saying on the Tua contract, just fade him, go the opposite way.
Yeah.
So it's happening tomorrow. Or maybe there's a reverse jinx. Because you said this now you will be right.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, dude, because I've gone from two extremes thinking, okay, this thing has got to be close, right? There's no way you're adding the entire team and you must know something. No, sure enough, something changed. I think that last deal by Trevor Lawrence effed everything up. And they're like, no, we want more money now. And they're like, no, dude. This is why we were building this team around you. That's kind of the sense I get. I almost get that sense that there was kind of a feel for like, hey guys, here's where we're at. Okay, great, and we're going to build a team around you with that number. And then all of a sudden, the Lawrence deal comes out, and boom, you know what I mean. And we still have the Purdy and Jordan Love deals,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which will cloud the situation even more. That's the thing.
So yeah, if you're the Dolphins, I think you want to operate with some urgency too, because then you don't want another quarterback deal to hit you over the head like that, because it just keeps going up. Yesterday's price is not today's price when it comes to the quarterback. So the Dolphins are realizing that, and yeah, Tua has every reason to go for more money when he saw that Trevor Lawrence, whom Tua has outplayed thus far in their 2 NFL careers, got that contract. And it makes sense when the salary cap went up 13.6% from one year to the next. Then yeah, if Joe Burrow was setting the market at $55 million per year, then Trevor's $55 million per year, albeit not with the same guarantees and whatnot. So it's kind of an inflated number. But yeah, when the salary cap went up 13.6%, yeah, that's kind of what the market is going to be now, and you actually get off with less of a percentage of the salary cap than when the Bengals first agreed with Burrow's deal.
All right, let me tell you what I also just again, this is just a guess because obviously these contract things and this kind of stuff is guessing stuff that we're doing here. A lot of people are wondering, oh, will he hold out? Will he hold in, or all of that? I'm convinced none of that will go on with Tua. He's under contract. I think Tua will go the other way. I think Tua will shut the media down and say, hey, listen, we're not going to talk about contract till next year, and I'm not going to answer any more questions about the contract. Let's talk football from here on out. Boom. And he then says, oh, all right, you guys don't want to give me the money? Great, no problem. Boom. He goes out, he takes on the season. He goes and has a great year and makes you pay even more. And so I think he's the kind of guy that is going to say, oh, really? Oh, okay. Instead of going the other way and be bitter and all that other stuff, I think he's the guy that says, oh, really? Okay, well, then I'm going to prove you guys wrong too. And now you're going to have to pay me even more when I come back and I put up the numbers. Yeah. So I kind of think that he will take it more as a challenge than anything else. I don't think there's any kind of a holdout, a hold in, or anything like that. I think he takes it on and says, oh, okay. And then same thing as the hip or anything else. I think that's how he's wired.
Yeah, could be. And then if you do get that motivated Tua, then and he is motivated by this scenario, then you end up getting the performance that validates the contract that you seem to have to pay anyway. So yeah, so right, it would work out if you have to pay top dollar for Tua, and you want him to prove it for another year. And he did prove a lot already. The last 2 years, took the huge leap in year 3 under Mike McDaniel with Tyreek Hill on the Dolphins. Then year 4 proved that he could stay healthy. That was still the big underlying question mark. And to some extent, yes, he's going to want to create that security for himself because he does have the injury history. It was just 2 seasons ago that he had the multiple concussions. And now he is coming off this 1 year where he did make it through entirely healthy. But how much do you want to continue to bet on yourself so much when one more of those concussions then could put you back into that previous state of how you were perceived as far as what you're valued, what you should be paid. So, yeah, I mean, there's 2 sides to that. If he wants to get some security and lock in the long-term extension now, but especially if that price is so high for what he wants, then if you're the Dolphins, you might want to actually see it again and then say, well, if the price keeps going up, well, then it's only going to go up to what we have to pay anyway because we got to pay top dollar regardless.
Oh, no. And if he takes on the challenge and he meets the challenge and he goes and has a great season and let's say wins a playoff game or 2, oh, dude, the negotiations are going to be really, really ugly in the offseason because you're the Dolphins. You're going to have to capitulate. You're going to have to shut the hell up, and you're going to have to pay him whatever his agent says you're going to pay. And by the way, for the haters who can't wait to hate on whatever deal he gets, oh my God, they're going to freak out because it'll be the kind of deal that maybe only Mahomes is out earning him or something like that, or maybe he's number one in the league next year after a great season. So you got to be careful. That's the other thing. If you're the Dolphins, if you believe in him, and then he goes out and has that kind of season, you're going to end up having less space in the future than you would have right now. So,
yeah, well, and especially if the NFL has another year where the salary cap goes up by double-digit percentage, then it's only going to get more expensive, and quarterbacks are going to. And sure, you get more in the total salary cap, but then that percentage of what you have to pay your quarterback is only going to skyrocket even more so. So,
I don't think it'll be a situation of animosity. I just don't think that. I think he'll take it as a challenge, and it'll be fun. I think actually it'll be fun. Either way, dude, I've seen all of these things. They all end up working out. Everybody gets their money and all that bullshit. So I'm not really worried about it because he's a character dude. So I know that these kind of dudes end up, manipulating the situation in a way where it just ends up working out. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's kind of the way these kind of people are.
Yeah, I have a feeling Tua himself doesn't want to play it so hard with the organization. I think he has a lot of appreciation for the organization bringing him in, and then and halfway through the years that he's had so far, bringing in Mike McDaniel, a coach that has worked wonders for him and made it such a better environment that he appreciates so much more than what he had initially under Brian Flores. You can definitely tell that. So, and obviously, I think Tua just likes it here. He's done stuff with his foundation in South Florida. So I don't think he really wants to leave and have to start up elsewhere. He doesn't want it to get to that point. He's a very team-oriented guy. So, at the end of the day, I think he has to play a hard line because these are negotiations, and he has to maximize what he can get out of the situation. And he's competitive too. So that competition, it leaks into salary cap. Like Trevor Lawrence got that. No, I got to beat him when it comes to getting Jared Goff money. I got to make sure I beat him when it comes to my contract. So these are competitive guys too. So even if they want to put their organization in the best scenario possible, they also do like to compete in every aspect, even when it comes to the money.
I'm with you there. All right, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. He'll be back on Thursday afternoon when we are live at Hialeah Park. David, as always, thank you, my brother. We will catch up on Thursday, my friend. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You got it. Welt Rheaume, folks, we are in the middle of storm season, but it doesn't have to be a hurricane. It could be a thunderstorm. It could be just a regular type of storm that strolls in and has some wind. And, from 40 miles on, starts to cause some kind of roof damage for folks. I'm not saying every roof. Most roofs have no problem, but some could even have problems even at 40. And so sometimes with a lot of rain, if you start noticing those brown spots, call Welt Rheaume. They'll send over their adjusters. You'll find out that maybe in the last storm or two or the last year, there's been some damage to your roof, and maybe you need a new roof, and let's get that thing fixed. 954-966-4646. You never call the insurance company. You call Welt Rheaume first. 954-966-4646. Bankruptcy has become an issue. A lot of people have been going into their credit cards, deep into their credit cards. They've been going into their 401ks, and they've gotten in a little bit of trouble. And it's been going on a lot around the country, folks. If you're facing those bankruptcy and those collectors, please call Welt Rheaume. They can help you out. 954-966-4646. Personal injury, business owner claims, commercial litigation. They're here for you. Call Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume right now. 954-966-4646. The consultation's completely free.
is the Big O Show.